everyone. I'm Garrett, and today I want to share a truly bizarre and somewhat terrifying experience I had during my sophomore year of college. It all started with my struggle to find off-campus housing, which opened the door to a situation I never expected. So, here's the scoop. After my freshman year, I didn't get assigned a dorm. Yeah, it was a scramble. I had to search high and low for somewhere to live. Eventually, I landed in a co-op part of this quirky three-house community not far from campus. It wasn't the best living situation, but it was affordable, and with my bike, the extra distance wasn't a huge deal. The residents were mostly students like me, but there were a few older folks mixed in alumni, TAs, and even some adults going back to school. It was an interesting mix. Among all the residents, one person stood out in a big way, an older woman living in one of the other houses. She looked to be in her late 50s, but honestly, she seemed older. With graying hair and a noticeable limp, she moved around slowly. I never heard her speak, and she had this blank expression that was unsettling. I thought maybe she had some connection to the university, perhaps faculty or an alum. But no one ever mentioned anything about her, and I didn't feel comfortable asking. It felt like everyone had just accepted her presence without question. The first strange encounter happened in our shared kitchen. I saw her just standing there, staring at us while we cooked and chatted. It was odd because she didn't join in at all. The few times our eyes met, I got this weird feeling like she was watching me specifically. It was a little paranoid to think about, but the strangeness didn't stop there. Later that week, I looked out my window and saw her standing right below, staring up. My heart raced. It felt like she was looking directly at me. I stupidly waved, and she started jumping up and down like a child. It was unsettling. That left me feeling really uneasy, so I decided to ask one of my housemates about her. He shrugged and said she'd always been around, and that the best thing was to just ignore her, like everyone else did. His nonchalance only fueled my curiosity, so I kept asking around. Eventually, I connected with a senior living in her house. He casually mentioned she was affiliated with the university. It sounded odd but harmless, yet I didn't like the idea of just overlooking her behavior. The residents didn't get to choose who lived there. It was up to the property manager. Frustrating, right? As time went on, things got even stranger. I kept encountering her in places she had no business being, like hanging out in hallways or peering into rooms. It was uncomfortable, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was always observing or looking for something. One day, I lost my room key, which annoyed me. The rooms in our house had locks, and I valued my privacy. Although most people didn't bother locking their doors, I did. Losing the key felt like an invitation for trouble, and little did I know how prophetic that would turn out to be. Then came that night. I woke up to a soft bumping sound coming from my closet. It was a subtle noise, but enough to pull me from sleep. My heart raced as I realized something was shifting inside. I'm usually not the jumpy type, but I knew I had to find out what was happening. So I took a deep breath, threw on some courage, and opened the closet door. And there she was. The older woman stood in my closet, one of my neckties wrapped around her neck and a kitchen knife in her hand. It was surreal and horrifying. My scream startled her, and she lunged at me with the knife. I reacted instinctively, wrestling her to the ground. She was frail, so I managed to disarm her, but she kicked and bit at me while I held her down, screaming for help. Thankfully, some housemates heard and rushed in. The chaos continued when the police arrived quickly and arrested her right then and there. It was still surreal. She had stopped screaming, but wouldn't say a word, which was deeply unsettling. As they restrained her, they found my lost room key in her pocket. Weeks later, we uncovered the truth. She was the property manager's sister. Instead of getting her the care she desperately needed, he had been hiding her in an unoccupied room. This negligence ultimately led to his arrest for multiple charges. Honestly, I feel more anger toward him than her. She's a victim in a way. So that's my story. It's made my college experience unforgettable, though definitely not in a good way. Looking back, I can't shake that night from my memory, and it makes me think about how we often overlook mental health issues. Thanks for listening, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.